The movie starts with John, wearing a protective suit and a mask on his face to protect him from the polluted air. And John is currently outside the Greenland shelter because he's supposed to be out scouting. Anyway, John now reaches the shore and sees a few lifeboats there, and these boats have been here since the time people were trying to survive the Clarke comet. But of course, when John enters them, he finds them completely empty. And remember them, my friend, because we'll need them later. Anyway, John also sees a giant destroyed ship, which was also destroyed because of the recent events. So he enters this ship hoping he might find something useful. When he enters the ship, he sees a shocking scene because he finds the ship's crew all dead. And of course, they've been dead for a long time too. So the scene is very moving for John, who now continues searching the ship and finds nothing important except a nice-looking rose. So he takes it to give to his wife, Allison. After that, they talk to John from the shelter through the earpiece in his ear, and they tell him that there is a strong storm coming toward him and he must return to the shelter quickly. So John runs out of the ship like crazy and runs toward the shelter. And you notice here that the storm behind John is not an ordinary storm, but a radiation storm, meaning if it got close to him, it would burn him completely. So he keeps running with all his strength until he reaches the shelter. And at that time, they had started closing the shelter door because of the coming storm, but he manages at the last moment to enter without the storm hurting him in any way. The first thing John does when he reaches the shelter is go to sit with his psychiatrist and they talk together. And we know from their talk that John is currently suffering from many psychological problems because of the state of the world, and that he doesn't feel anything can go back to how it was before. But the doctor just keeps comforting him. We leave John with his doctor and go now to Allison, his wife, who is currently attending a meeting for all the leaders in the shelter. Leaders like an army general, a group of scientists and others, and at the head of everyone is a scientist named Dr. Amina. Dr. Amina talks today with everyone about a place called the crater, located in southern France. And Amina tells them that this crater was originally formed because the Clarke comet hit the world in that area, and therefore created a very huge crater in the ground. She expects with a high percentage that this crater has fresh air that anyone can breathe, a source of water and everything, and doesn't have any radiation problems or pollution like the rest of the world. In short, a place for life continuously without problems. Dr. Amina believes that they should leave the shelter and go to that crater to live in it, but everyone opposes her, led by one of those present who is a bit heavy-blooded, unpleasant, named Adam Scott. So Amina moves past the idea for now, and they continue their talk. Allison talks with everyone and tells them that there are more than 50 people who sent them a distress message, saying they want to enter the shelter because they are suffering from constant earthquakes, radiation storms, and polluted air, and they are originally living now in mines near the shelter here. Allison believes that they should send a group to bring them here to live with them. At that time, Adam also objects as usual, but this time he objects because they are about to finish their resources in the shelter, and the shelter is full of so many people beyond its capacity, so there is no possibility for anyone else. Of course, this talk doesn't please Allison because she wants to save these poor people, so she tells everyone to hold a vote on going out to help these people. And indeed, they hold a vote and most of those present agree with Allison's words to go out to save them. So Allison's idea will be implemented, and for this, she is very happy, while Adam Scott is almost dying of rage. On the other side, we see in another place in the shelter Nathan, John and Allison's son, who has grown up, my friend, since the last time we saw him, and he is studying in a school established here in the shelter. We notice that all the things explained to Nathan and his classmates concern stars, meteors, and the like, so that if the Earth is exposed to something like this again, the new generation like Nathan and his classmates can act. We leave Nathan studying at his own pace and go now to John, who is now working with a friend of his named Larry in maintaining the pressure pump in the shelter. They actually manage to fix it and everything is fine. After that, John goes to the place where they eat dinner or the dining hall, and there his wife Allison and his son Nathan join him. Allison tells him now that the soldiers caught Nathan while he was outside the shelter, and at that time Nathan said he just wished to watch the sky a little, nothing more. So John starts shouting in his face because this is a mistake, as it's very possible while he's out one of those times to die from radiation, and this upsets Nathan because of his father's way. So he leaves him and returns to his room and keeps drawing stars on his bedsheet as usual because he loves doing that. The next day, we see a group of soldiers starting to go outside the shelter to bring the people who sent the distress message, if you remember. And indeed, they have brought a large number of them, and they are now entering the shelter. But while they are doing that, suddenly an earthquake hits the shelter. And the earthquake this time is completely unnatural because this earthquake is so strong that it started destroying the whole shelter. John at that time was working on repairs as usual, so a large amount of rubble falls on him and he literally faints. But his friend comes to him and wakes him up and tells him to go quickly to save his family. So John catches his breath and goes to his wife Allison and finds that Allison has brought her son and they are looking for him. So they all quickly start gathering anything they can gather from their belongings, and they take each other after that and start trying to get out of the collapsing shelter, until they finally get outside the shelter by a miracle, they and a large part of the people who were living in the shelter. The earthquake is strong and also storms are hitting right and left, so everyone is looking for a way to escape. Dr. Amina, by the way, is now lying on the ground and injured. So John and his family go to her and save her, and they continue escaping together toward the shore to take one of the existing boats. And actually, after a while they reach there, but the people there were killing each other to ride these boats. Since John was here before, he knew there was another boat a bit far from the people they could go to ride. He and his family. So he takes his family and also with him Dr. Amina and Adam Scott and a few other people, and they ride this boat. Of course, the people when they saw them wanted to kill them and take the boat, but they quickly get on the boat, start it, and move away from here in the sea. And by the way, my friend, there was a tsunami coming to hit the place, and by a miracle, a big miracle, they crossed with the boat from this tsunami and nothing happened to them. But unfortunately, the other people who didn't make it onto the boats, the tsunami came and hit them and finished them and what remained of the shelter. By God's grace, John and everyone are safe far away from the earthquake, storms, and all the problems. But a new problem starts appearing for everyone. Where will they go? There are people suggesting going to Iceland, and people suggesting other places and so on. But John and his family suggest going to Europe, and from there they can reach the crater that Amina is talking about. Although everyone sees that Europe is dangerous, especially since it is destroyed like the rest of the world, and also there is a civil war between what remains of humans there, John and his family manage to convince everyone to go to Europe. And indeed they do that, and they keep traveling by boat for long days because the trip is not short. Rather, it is a long trip, about a week in the middle of the sea. Throughout this period, John was sitting with his son watching the stars at night while they were happy, and at other times the boat would break down on them, but John would fix it. They stayed like this for a while until they finally reached Europe, specifically England. When they reach there, they find England destroyed like the rest of the world, and they also find it flooded with water to the point that they are currently stuck with their boat on top of a building. So they push their boat from the top of this building and keep moving carefully until they finally find a high place that the water didn't reach. So they park the boat there and go down to see if there is anyone living here or not. Believe it or not, they found that there are humans here selling and buying and literally trying to coexist. So John and everyone continue walking until they find a large part of the city's people who are here gathered in front of a government shelter like the one John and everyone were in. Of course, the people are holding demonstrations there because they want to enter, but of course, the army soldiers hold them back with weapons and prevent entry because the shelter has no room or resources. Anyway, at that time, the soldiers who guard the shelter, when they know that John and those with him were in the Greenland shelter, decide to let them in, but on one condition: that they have the cards that prove they were in the Greenland shelter. But the problem here is that no one has their card except Allison, so the soldiers decide to let her in only, and they won't let anyone else in with her. At that time, Adam Scott objects and keeps saying he must enter, and at that moment one of the soldiers, without thinking, shot him and ended his life. From here, your eye sees nothing but the light. All hell breaks loose. The protesters start fighting with the soldiers and chaos occurs. But all this stops because there is an alarm that starts working in the city saying there is a storm coming toward them, so everyone flees. And of course, John unfortunately takes his family and Amina, and they leave Adam dead on the ground and start fleeing themselves too. By chance, they see a young man driving a car named Obi, so they ask him to take them with him on his way to London. Obi refuses to take them, but he sees John's watch and asks to take it in exchange. So John gives it to him and they get in. Everyone takes off in the car at full speed and they escape from this storm. Of course, everyone was devastated because of Adam, who died before their eyes, but they knew that the place here is also not safe, and they must go to a place to rest a little before they continue to the crater. So they agree to go to a woman named Max, their relative who lives here in London, and Allison had contacted her several times while she was in the shelter via radio and knows her location. After a bit, everyone stops at a place to rest for a while, and at that moment John talks with Obi and gets to know him, and knows that Obi is from Nigeria, and that he spent many years dreaming of coming to England. And when he came to England, everything in it was destroyed and the world ended. It seems like Obi is really unlucky, and the biggest proof that he is unlucky is that they suddenly all find that there is a fragment from the comet falling on them. So everyone hides and stands behind one of the trees that are here, and they stay holding onto it tightly so they don't fly away, except for Obi, who goes to hide by his car. So the fragment hits him and he dies and his car is destroyed. And all this is in front of John and everyone, who grieve for him very much because he really was poor. After a while, things calm down, so everyone comes out from behind the trees and takes what remains of their belongings from Obi's car, and John, Allison, Amina, and Nathan continue the road on foot. After a while, everyone arrives at old Max's place, their relative, who as soon as she sees them is very, very happy and lets them into her house and welcomes them. And Max's house, by the way, is not an ordinary house. It's a nursing home that she made more like a shelter. She tells everyone that she protected the place here with everyone who remained in it because people who have Alzheimer's or are sick need care, and there is no one else to protect them, especially since all these people have been thrown away by their families. Everyone was really pleased with her and sat eating and drinking, and they finally, and for the first time, feel like they are in safety and comfort a little. And during the joy they are in, they talk with Max a little about the crater, and that they want to go to that place. So Max confirms to them that the crater exists in France and that there are many people going to it, hoping that it is actually safe, but she won't be able to go with them because the people who are here need someone to care for them. At that time, Nathan asks Amina, how can the crater originally, despite its fall in a place, have turned it into a safe place? It's supposed to have destroyed it. Amina told him that this comet likely had chemicals and properties that, when they hit the Earth, reacted with it, and made the area where it landed like paradise. But she isn't sure, to be honest, about this talk, and it's very possible that they go to the crater and find it a destroyed place. John decides that he will rest a little, he and everyone. Today and tomorrow they continue their trip to the crater. That same day at night, Allison enters to see John while he is washing his face, and finds him coughing severely, and blood is coming out of his mouth. So she asks him, "What's wrong with you?" And John confesses the truth, which is that he is sick with a serious illness because of the radiation he was breathing when he would go outside the shelter to scout, and the doctors in Greenland had told him that he has 7 to 8 weeks left to live. And for this reason, He is insistent on getting them to the crater and making sure they are okay before he dies no matter what happens. Of course, she is very affected by John's words and keeps comforting him and crying and easing his pain while she is also helpless. Anyway, the next day, John and everyone say goodbye to Max and take a car from her and also a pistol for protection, and they set off on their way to the crater. And all along the way they were talking and playing together until suddenly a shot came from the window and killed Amina immediately. Of course, John was shocked and stopped the car. Then bandits appeared from everywhere and started shooting at them to take the car. But of course, John didn't allow that and gets down with the pistol and keeps killing them one after another until he finished them all. In the end, everyone stays safe, but after they lost Amina, so John and everyone bury her and hold a small funeral for her. After that, they ride the car again and continue their way once more. After a while, everyone reaches an area that is supposed to be a sea, and they were going to take a boat from there and cross to France. But John is surprised now that it has completely dried up and became just land. So it seems to him like this is better to be honest, because at least they won't need a ship but will continue with the car. So they actually continue with the car until they reach an area where many people put their cars and continued walking. So John parks there too and takes his family and continues walking. And here is the shock. To continue and cross to the other side and reach France, you must cross between two mountains. And to cross from this mountain to the second mountain, you must pass on a rope that can barely hold itself. So John encourages his son and his wife and tells them there is no solution. We must continue, and he starts climbing first in front of them on the rope to cross. And of course they walk slowly and cautiously, and even though people around them are falling, they cross to the other side. Unfortunately, they are shocked that they must cross from this mountain to a second mountain, and this time via long ladders tied together, and this is 1,000,000,000 times harder than the rope. But despite that, John takes them and continues with them and starts crossing. The disaster is that there were two ladders next to each other so that many people could cross, and one of the ladders started collapsing, and a person from that ladder jumped onto the ladder John and his family were on, and because of it, Nathan almost fell from above. But John caught him and lifted him again, and they quickly finished running on the ladder until they crossed to the other side. And literally, as soon as they crossed to the other side, the ladder and ropes and everything collapsed, and the people who were on it all died. So John and his family are in their peak terror, but they continue walking as they have no other choice. The idea is that while they are walking, they accidentally meet a person who points a weapon at them because he thinks they are bandits or something like that. Then he calms down and lowers his weapon when he knows that they are just poor ordinary people and want to reach inside France, nothing more. Therefore, he takes them in his car and decides to help them and takes them to his house to rest. After a bit, everyone reaches his house, and there this person introduced himself as Dennis and lives here with his family, his wife Julia, and his little daughter too. We also see that Julia has problems because she is paralyzed, doesn't move and doesn't speak, and this is because of the radiation that affected her severely. Anyway, John and his family sit with this family, and they are a really nice family, so they sit eating and talking together. John tells Dennis that he is taking his family and going to the crater and literally traveling to it from Greenland. So Dennis tells him that the matter won't be easy at all. He told him that there is now a civil war because everyone wants to reach the crater, not to mention that the rest of the world's countries, any government or any army left of them, are also coming to fight to take from the comet's wealth when it fell to the Earth, and therefore the distance from here to the crater is literally a battlefield. John was terrified by this talk, to be honest, but he had no solution and insisted on continuing. Everyone finished eating and went up to rest. We see that Nathan, John's son, gets very close to Camille, Dennis's daughter, and he liked her and she liked him too. And so he shows her now the bedsheet he drew his stars on, and Camille is very happy when she sees them because she has never seen stars in the sky because of the smoke and toxic fumes spread in the sky and covering the stars. In any case, the next day, Dennis helps John and gives him a map to reach the crater, and also lets him know that the road to the crater will be dangerous because it's a road with a war. But Dennis tells John that he will direct him to a safe road to walk on straight, and tells him that when he gets near the crater and meets soldiers there, he should ask about an officer named Junit. And this Junit was an old friend of Dennis's, so he will get them to the crater safely. Of course, John thanks Dennis very much, so Dennis asks him for one last request. He asks John to take his daughter also with them because he knows that this crater is a good place fit for a human to start a new life, but he himself won't be able to go there because someone must stay with his wife to care for her. So John agrees and they agree on that, and Camille goes to say goodbye to her mother and they are both crying. After that, Camille goes out with John and everyone on their way to the crater. Everyone kept walking for a while in Dennis's car until they went down after a while to rest, and here soldiers belonging to the French army stopped them and they wanted to send them back and not allow them to complete the road to the crater. So John at that time asks them about Junit and that he is a friend of theirs. At that time, the soldiers calm down and tell him that they will take them to him. And indeed, the soldiers take John, his family, and Camille and move with them in the middle of the strong war happening in the area. And it is indeed, my friend, a big war to the point that we were watching now gunfire and explosions left and right. So the matter was extremely difficult. But importantly, the soldier gets them to the place where there is a camp near the crater, and this camp had Junit in it. There, John talks with the officer in charge and asks him, "Where is Junit?" So the officer tells him, "Look behind you," and John is shocked that his luck is bad because Junit has just passed away. And this officer now is in his place, and therefore he refuses to let John go to the crater through favoritism and all that talk, and he lets him know here that people wait for days to find a place in the bus that goes up to the crater, so take your turn. At that moment, John tells him that he is sick and very soon will die, and wants to make sure of his family's safety before his death and keeps appealing to him. So the officer feels sorry for John and allows him to go on the bus that will set off now with a group of refugees going to the crater. And indeed, everyone gets on the bus and the matter is going well, but on the road bandits come out at them and clash with them and kill all the soldiers who were protecting the bus. After that, they enter the bus and insist on taking it and making everyone in it get out. Everyone gets out except John, whose patience has run out, so he grabs these soldiers and keeps fighting with them, and the people fight with a soldier too, and in the end everyone gets rid of the bandits. But unfortunately, John gets hit by a shot in his stomach and is bleeding. But despite that, he quickly takes his family and everyone gets on the bus, and Allison starts driving toward the crater at maximum speed possible. After a while, everyone reaches a very high area. The bus becomes unable to continue, so everyone continues walking on foot until they finally reach the crater, which is a beautiful place that has life, exactly as Amina was saying. John sees all this while he is unusually happy, and he's glad because he got his family here and was reassured about them. But unfortunately, John has reached his end and is dying, so John says goodbye to his family, his wife and his son, and dies after he was reassured about them. And with this point, the movie ends and the series ends completely, and we know that Allison, Nathan, and also Camille will be safe, but unfortunately, the father John died. And the movie ends and that's it, peace.